For the next few days, I'm going to be doing Psalm number 119. Psalm 119 is the longest chapter in all the Bible, possibly all the scriptures. It is 176 verses long. The reason for this is very simple. The original poem is written as a series of acrostic poems, 8 lines each, 22 stanzas. 22 times 8 is 176 verses. Each stanza is subtitled after a letter in the Hebrew alphabet. Because in that stanza, every line, all 8 lines, start with that letter. This is, of course, in the original Hebrew. Translating it into English, it doesn't quite work out. But in the original Hebrew, each stanza started with the same letter. So the first stanza starts with the Hebrew letter Aleph, which is the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet. The second letter starts with the second letter in the Hebrew alphabet. And so on down to the last letter in the Hebrew alphabet being Tau. Now, this makes it a very long poem. 22 stanzas, just reading it would be well over 15 minutes, which is how I like to keep my videos limited to, is about 15 minutes. I do occasionally go over, but I try to limit it to 15 minutes or less. So, I'm going to do this in a series of videos. Now, I'm not going to do each stanza by itself. They're too short for a single video. I'm going to do 2 at a time. They're still going to be very short videos, like most of the other Psalms, about a minute and a half each. That gives us 11 videos for the Psalms, for the stanzas of Psalm 119. If I do 4 videos a day, that gives us 3 days to go through the entirety of Psalm 119. I'm doing this video as an introduction because I felt that this particular psalm, it is by itself a very unique psalm and deserves a little extra attention, a little special introduction. So I do want to talk a little bit about this psalm. First of all, we have no idea when it was actually written. All we know, we assume that it was written after the law of Moses because it is a praise of the law. So the general theme of all 22 stanzas is, it is great to live by the law of God. You are blessed if you live by the law of God. The law of God is perfect. The law of God is something to be sought after and studied and understood so that you can make your life as good, as the best it possibly can be. That's the basic idea of this poem. So we assume it was written after the law of Moses, but sorry, my son just walked into the room, so it might get a little hectic in here in a moment. But I just wanted to say that while we assume it was written after the time of Moses because of this focus on the law, it is possible that it was written before the time of Moses because God has always given his law to his anointed, to his prophets, to the covenant people. So we don't really know, but I think it is safe to assume that it was written after the time of Moses. I don't think any of the Psalms were written before Moses. So just wanted to put that there. Now, I will say, in the Hebrew, the title of this poem is rendered as such. It says it is Ashrai Temimai Direk. I'm probably mispronouncing that. But the English translation is, happy are those whose way is perfect. Later on, in the Latin, it is given the title, let me see if I can pronounce this, Beati Immaculati in via qui ambulant in lege domini. I probably mispronounced that too, but the English translation of this is, blessed are the undefiled in the way. Both of these titles indicate that the main focus of the poem, of the psalm, is you obey the law and you are blessed. Whose way is perfect, who is undefiled in the way. This is talking about following the law of God. But not just the temporal law, not just saying don't commit murder, don't commit. He's talking about the covenant path. that God has set out to lead us to Him. That's what the way is, the undefiled in the way. Those whose way is perfect. It's not that you are acting perfect, but that you are on that perfect way back to God. One last thing I want to mention is that in the original poem, sorry, my son just turned on the disco light. In the original poem, the individual stanzas or verses of 8 lines each do not have subheadings. In the Bible printed by the church, they, just like all other chapters, they have a chapter heading. But for this psalm, they have an individual heading for each verse, or each stanza. I will not be reading these individual headings when I do my reading of the psalm. I think it is unnecessary, and it does. It has been remarked by some scholars that in doing so, you kind of give the false idea that each stanza stands alone, and it's not. It is one complete poem. And so I'm going to be reading. I will still read individual stanzas, but I will not be doing individual headings, because I think it does detract a little bit from the unity of the poem. So I'm going to say goodbye for now, but keep an eye out. These stanzas will be dropping several in a day for the next few days. So I'll see you there.